horrific crimes. An area of concern we have is regarding the death of Stephen Smith and what is being said about his death and his life now that his death has been ruled a homicide as of just a few days ago, and people are starting to pay more attention to Stephen Smith's life and his story. We've noticed that at least a couple news outlets are referring to Stephen Smith as Buster Murdaugh's ex-lover, and we're wondering what the information is. There's also this story about there being a rape kit ordered when Stephen Smith's death was being looked into right after his death, and we're also questioning this story. It could be true, but on this channel, we're really doubting it. So just let me tell you the information that's out there right now. I'm just going to read you an excerpt from an article from the New York Post, and this is from March 23rd, 2023. So as I record this, it's the morning of March 24th, so just a few hours ago, okay? So this is straight from the article. Investigators probing the 2015 death of Stephen Smith ordered a rape kit examination of the victim's body. An uncommon move for what was purportedly a traffic accident death, according to a recent report. The 19-year-old South Carolina nursing student's body was found near a MURDAUGH family property, but despite initial officers on the scene reporting the death appeared to be a homicide, the autopsy ruled it a hit and run. Mike Duncan, a now retired corporal with the South Carolina Highway Patrol, told News Nation it was the first time he had heard of the rape kit examination ordered for a death in a traffic collision. The examination was reportedly ordered within 13 hours of the discovery of Stephen Smith's remains. Asked if he had seen such a move before, Duncan said, when it comes to traffic accidents, never. This was the very first time. I did not have an understanding of why it was being ordered. We were not notified until later that it had been ordered, he told show host Ashley Banfield. So no, I have no answers for you for why they would order a rape kit for what would be suspected as a hit and run, which it wasn't, but I will never understand that. It's a confusing statement in itself, and it definitely doesn't give any clarity or any answers, right? So continuing on in that article, Duncan, the supervisor for his unit, said his crew was called off the case around the time that the rape kit was ordered. I was puzzled and confused from the start to when we actually got to finally pick up the case, why we weren't given the opportunity to be part of it from the beginning, he said. He added that investigators, quote, were never given any information, end quote, regarding the results of the rape kit by the time he retired. I'm going to continue on with the article, and there's some more factual information here. It goes on to say, the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, SLED, reopened the case into 19-year-old Stephen Smith's death while it was investigating the murders of Maggie and Paul Murdaugh. Disgraced legal scion Alex Murdaugh was convicted earlier this month of killing his wife Maggie and his son Paul. Days later, SLED announced that Stephen Smith's death is a homicide investigation, although it has yet to disclose what additional evidence was uncovered. The Murdaugh family name was brought up to officers many times in the early part of the investigation into Smith's death. According to local outlet Fit News, nobody from the family was ever interviewed about the death of Stephen Smith, who was gay. And Stephen Smith was gay, is what the article here is saying. Buster has never formally been linked to his death, and no evidence has been presented that associated him with it. And they're referring to Stephen Smith's death. Reading from the article still, quote, These baseless rumors of my involvement with Stephen and his death are false. I unequivocally deny any involvement in his death, and my heart goes out to the Smith family," end quote. And that's a statement from Buster MURDAUGH. Smith's body was found in July of 2015 in the middle of the road, not far from the MURDAUGH family's sprawling Moselle estate, with a large wound to the right side of his head. The official police narrative of Stephen Smith's death was that he was struck while walking up the road because his car had run out of gas. The car was discovered over 3 miles away from where his body was found, with his wallet inside and the gas cap open. A coroner determined the teen likely suffered his head injury when he was struck by a semi-truck's mirror as the vehicle passed. So the Associated Press reports this, a theory which has been questioned and debunked by various investigators. A lawyer looking into the case, Ronnie Richer, recently told reporters there were no skid marks around his body. There was no vehicular debris found. His loosely tied shoes were still on his feet. It is our job today to launch a new investigation into his death, into the hopes of finding real answers. Smith's mother, Sandy Smith, wrote in a 2016 letter to the FBI that the MURDAUGH family quickly injected itself into the 2015 investigation. Quote, "This first call my family received after the murder was from the authorities notifying us of Stephen Smith's death," end quote. Sandy Smith wrote in her letter, quoting again, "The second came very quickly in the same morning from solicitor Randolph MURDAUGH. In fact, he called my ex-husband's cell phone as we walked in the police station for a positive identification. Oh. He said he heard of the case and was interested in working pro bono as a liaison between the family and the investigators." So we're ending her quote here. She recalls how a young man approached Stephen's older brother, Chris, and said that, quote, "he was present when Stephen was murdered and witnessed everything firsthand." He said the solicitor MURDAUGH's nephew, Buster MURDAUGH, who graduated with Stephen, beat Stephen to death with a baseball bat. He claimed it was because Stephen was gay, she wrote, according to the report. The witness said they were out smashing mailboxes when they came upon Stephen, and Buster seized the opportunity. Sandy Smith has since raised enough money to begin the process to have her son's body exhumed and has hired a legal team to head up the postmortem investigation. Meanwhile, Buster MURDAUGH wrote in a statement earlier this week that he has tried to ignore the vicious rumors about his involvement in Stephen Smith's tragic death that continue to be published in the media as he grieves over the brutal murders of my mother and brother. SLED said on Wednesday of its investigation that, quote, "progress has been made."